Private member statements. I call the member for Newtown.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just outside this place today, there are tents pitched in Martin Place. And as a statement released by New South Wales Homelessness, Peak Bodies, Homelessness New South Wales and Domestic Violence New South Wales stated, the Martin Place community is a small proportion of the broader rough sleeping population in the inner city, which in February 2017 totalled 433 people. Rough sleeping in Sydney has increased by 28% since 2011, and rough sleeping represents only 6% of the broader homelessness population in this state. I'm very pleased to see that there are representatives of the 24/7 Sydney Street Kitchen Safe Space and Community here present in the gallery today, and can I give credit to them and credit to the people that are outside volunteering to be able to provide support and a safe space for people that are sleeping rough in our city. They should be acknowledged in this place because it is the failure of this state government to act that means that they have had to step in to behave and provide this support. While you might think that while there's a whole lot of people sleeping rough outside in National Homelessness Week, the Premier, the Minister for Family and Community Services and the New South Wales Liberal National State Government would actually be providing support to people that are homeless in our community. Instead, we hear word that maybe there's a special meeting going on right now with the Premier and others to talk to the Police Minister, to talk to the Commissioner for Police about how they are going to close down this tent city and move people on in an attempt to sweep this issue of homelessness under the carpet. It is completely disgusting to hear the Premier of this state say last week that she felt completely uncomfortable by the tent city just outside the doors of this parliament. To hear the Minister for Family and Community Services quoted as saying, "I don't care what it takes, we will move these people on." Well, I've got a message for the Premier and the Minister. Actually, their job is to provide people with housing. It's actually a responsibility of the state government to provide people with housing and support, not to call in the police commissioner to work out whose responsibility is to move them on. These are people. This is not a situation that you bring in people to clean the streets. This is a situation where people are not having a place to live because of the housing crisis in this state as a result of the failure of this state government to act. And instead we are hearing the police commissioner saying, and I quote, "If one person puts a step out of line, I'll throw them in the back of the truck. They should be gone and they should not be allowed back in this city." Well, I say shame on the police commissioner, I say shame on the Premier, and I say shame on the Minister for Police and for the Minister for Family and Community Services who have failed to actually address the issue of homelessness. Now we hear the Premier laying blame in this place, saying the people that are sleeping rough haven't taken up the opportunities that have been offered by Family and Community Services. But I've been chatting to people who have been faced with homelessness. I've been chatting to people that have been talking to those services. What are they being offered? They're being offered this new, what even is this phrase, temporary permanent accommodation. Now apparently temporary permanent accommodation is where you're allowed to stay longer in temporary accommodation because people want to get you off the streets. Well, that's all good in theory, but in practice people are being put in dodgy motels with no kitchen facilities, no ability to cook their own meal, no support services and no help to be able to get food. And so what we're seeing is hundreds of people accessing outside the Martin Place community-led safe space kitchen, and that is because the state government is failing to act. So what could they do right now? There are three things that they could do right now. The first is to take a housing-first approach to homelessness, and that means giving people access to permanent housing right now. We hear the government talk about the budget surplus. Why not use some of it to get some permanent housing for people that are sleeping rough and that are homeless? The second is a massive investment in social and affordable and public housing. We need to see that now. A 30% target on all new developments would go a huge way to addressing the housing affordability crisis in this state. And the final thing, which will cost this New South Wales Liberal government nothing, is to introduce an end to no grounds evictions to take the pressure off people living in the private rental market. 30% of people in New South Wales live in the private rental market, and by ending no grounds evictions, we take the pressure off. It is a shameful act. If the Premier today calls in the police to kick people out of Martin Place, I will be standing there with those people to say that they should not be moved on, they should be given permanent housing.